Hello everyone, this is Jenny and I'm here to talk to you guys once again about Korean literature. Yesterday was International Translation Day and I'm a little bit late, but I really want to make this video about Korean literature in translation. Now, that seems like a really big task to handle, so today I'm just going to talk to you guys about Min-gyu's recently translated novel, Pavane for a Dead Princess. And so this video is part 2. You can see my other review in the video before, but this video I want to talk to you guys particularly about this novel, Pavane for a Dead Princess, in translation. So I'm going to do a really brief comparison between the English version and the original Korean version, and sort of the differences that I saw while reading, and just my overall general opinion about the translation of this book. So to start with, I just want to say that reading this book, I loved this book, and I highly recommend you guys to read it. You can sort of refer to my video before this if you want the short summary, but basically, it's sort of a coming-of-age story / love story. Not really super typical. Definitely has a lot of original aspects to it that I really enjoyed, and most importantly, I really enjoyed some of the questions that were brought up throughout the novel. I really enjoyed that, and so, I guess to start with, I just want to say that overall with the English translation, I thought it was very well done, but I personally had some problems with some elements of the translation which aren't necessarily related to words, that, the process of going from Korean to English. So I think just to show you guys, I guess let me start off with showing you guys, this is the Korean cover of the book, and this is, as you saw before, this is the English version of this book. Now, not to say that you should judge a book by its cover, but I did think that in the Korean version there was a lot more attention paid to more minute details of the novel that don't necessarily have to do with the story as it's written, but there's visual aspects that really, they're part of the story, these visual aspects. It's a book about appearances and beauty and layers, and this book also asks the reader to judge it based on pictures. There's sort of showing you these, and it's a discussion that's going on, but it definitely, it is an aesthetic aspect that is important. So as you saw, the Korean version, so this image is of the painting by Diego Velázquez, and the painting is called Las Meninas, or Maids of Honor, and this painting is discussed in the first chapter of this book. And if you can sort of see, the rest of the people in this painting are faded, but the attention is placed on this person in particular, and if you read the book, you'll kind of you'll understand that this is who the narrator it reminds him of, the girl that he falls in love with, his co-worker, and so this is sort of playing off on that. And so the cover. Secondly, just if you look at, I'll just show you guys the first page, for example, of the Korean version, and you'll sort of see there's looks like it's underlined a little bit, that title of the first chapter, and so the translation of the chapter is Las Meninas, or Maids of Honor. That's the name of the painting. And if you can sort of see, as you hopefully you can sort of see, sorry, excuse my bad camera, but so the font of that, it's sort of underlined in pink, and then there's light blue dotted lines beneath that. So if you just look at that page, it sort of looks like when you make a Word file and something gets corrected. That sort of, it looks like text being typed. And so I personally thought that was really important because if you read the book, you know, it's a lot about writing a story. So the narrator wants to be a writer, and if you read more, you'll understand a little bit more what that has to do with the story, as in the process of writing a story. You'll understand that a little bit more. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but I think that sort of plays with that, and it's sort of this inception effect that's happening, a book within a book, that sort of idea. And visually, that's a really good clue that was not, it wasn't translated in the English version. And so, you know, part of that also has to do, I think that within the book there's a really big discussion about reality versus imagination. And so if you have this idea about, you know, a story being written, is it a story of fiction? How much of fiction is true? You know, the characters in the book often question, you know, what even is reality, you know, because our world is only limited to our own perception of it. So it's sort of like, as we're living, we're writing our own story. The way that we interpret things, that's our story, right? So how can you call that fiction? Is that reality? You know, there's no answer, right? But that's a really important question that comes up throughout the book. And I think that these visual clues, I don't know, it just made me feel more like I was part of that. I was really getting into. So another aspect that I want to talk about is, and this is something that I think it's just it's pretty minor thing, and I didn't really see the problem with it. It's just that when I was reading the English version, I was really confused. I didn't really know what was going on. So again, let me just show you that first page. So if you can see, for example here, this font, it's in blue. And here's another example of this page. So pink, blue. Park Min-gyu's writing style is really, it's pretty unique, and I think that one of the things that sort of sets it apart is he does this thing with, he'll be writing a paragraph and then all of a sudden he'll just break that paragraph off and move it down. So it's something more that's stylistic, I would say, more than anything. But those sort of breaks, he can be talking about one thing and then all of a sudden break and talk about something completely different. The sort of movements, and depending on the story, sometimes I think that it's trying to portray our train of thought, which can go from you're thinking about one thing and then all of a sudden it moves on to something different. So I think in some stories that's sort of what's going on. And in this case, I would say, you know, I noticed a lot, it had to do, the breaks, it seemed like it was trying to call attention to that one thing. You know, it's like the narrator is talking about a particular topic, he's going on, and then all of a sudden it breaks, and it's sort of that main epiphany type of moment. Not exactly epiphany, but that sort of moment where it's calling to attention, you know, what is life? It'll be broken off from that main paragraph. So in this case, though, some of the breaks, not all the time, but sometimes occur within the paragraph, and it'll be dialogue between the two characters, and usually it's the narrator with the girl that he falls in love with. And so what she says is in pink, what he says is in blue, and not all of their dialogue is done this way. It's only some parts, and I guess it's up to reader, your interpretation of what he chooses to color. Why does he choose those things? But I guess easy differentiation between so you can know who's speaking, the guy or the girl. And in the English translation, we do see some of that. Let me just. I don't think this is going to show up actually, but we can try. So if you can sort of see, this is light gray, and so some of the dialogue, some of those parts that were colored in the Korean version are slightly, they're gray in the English version. So there is no blue and pink, it's all just gray. So my thing is, when I was reading the English version and I came across that, I was really confused. I didn't really, the fact that it's gray didn't really do anything for me, and I was just really confused. Why would it be gray? And I think I understood it a little bit more when I was reading the Korean version, but just reading the English version, I personally was sort of confused, and I wish they wouldn't have done that. I think a lot of, like I said, the original Korean text, I think it does put a good importance on the book as a physical entity, and sort of what sort of qualities are being portrayed by the actual book. It's as aesthetically, and I think that is something that was seriously lacking in the English version. And I would say that usually it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, depending on the story, maybe it doesn't matter so much, but I think Min-gyu, and particularly this book, has a lot to do with appearances. The book, the actual book. And I really wish they would have taken that into consideration when doing the translation. I mean, you guys, like, there's pictures in the Korean version, like, throughout the chapters. Each chapter sort of has different pictures, and yeah, sometimes it can be used to sort of set off the mood of that chapter. I found this one particularly creepy. So again, I just think that this is something that we really could have done with in the English version. Another thing that was really awesome about the Korean version, I don't know if this had something to do with copyright, or I don't know why they wouldn't think to do this, but it comes with a CD, the soundtrack, the Korean version. There's 4 tracks on this, and they're not very long. There's 2 of them that are 6 minutes. One of them is close to 7 minutes. The others are close to 5 minutes. So they're not very long, and they are instrumentals. And so again, I think if you can sort of see, I'm trying to cover this up, borrow this from the library, you guys. If you can see this, it looks like there's snow on this, and this sort of again goes with that first chapter of the book, and the setting. It's it's really cold, it's winter, everything is dead. It's just the two characters, and they go into this cafe, and they're sitting and talking and eating. And so it's that warmth from that one place, but everything around them is dead. It's really strong imagery, and even looking at just before listening to this, you can sort of get that from sort of the design on this CD. And when you listen to it, I thought it was pretty interesting, sort of getting into the mood of the book, getting into that setting. Yeah, so there's that we did not have in the English version. And one last thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and I won't go into details right now because I'm thinking of doing a separate thing for that later. But the last part of this book, okay, two things. Number one, I won't talk about this for extensively because, like I said, I don't want to give spoilers to you guys. Maybe we can do a different discussion video afterwards. But, okay, you can sort of see that is in English, but the rest is in Korean. Okay, so writer's cut. Again, this part is purple, if you see it. Like, the pages are purple. That main one was a little bit darker purple, and then what goes after that, it's lighter purple. Now, so that sort of has to do, again, I think, whether it's Min-gyu, his publisher, whoever made these decisions on this book, I loved it. It's really going into his story, and like I said, story within a story, sort of giving you that setting while you're reading it. And I think that's one of the really interesting things that are happening with some writers, contemporary writers. They're focusing a lot on not just the words that they use, but the visual aspects of that word. So what are the connotations that come with the word as a physical entity, how they're arranged on a paper, anything else that's on that sheet with those words. So it's very artistic in a different level. Writing, it's artistic, but there's the actual visual arts that's going into some of the works today with contemporary writing. And Min-gyu in this book, I think that's what what's sort of going on here. There's more of that type of movement. Okay, so the last thing that I want to point out is this last little entry that is in the book. So I see this a lot in collections of short stories that are in Korean. Oftentimes there will be a short essay that the writer will be included after their short story, and it'll be about themselves or something about the writing. And so this was also included at the end of this book. It's sort of Min-gyu giving us a little talk, and so this is the author's words. That's what the section is called, and it's without embarrassment and without jealousy, sort of this general title of this. And so what's going on here is he's giving a little talk about this. So I don't want to go too much into detail about the content of that chapter right now. I'm thinking about doing something else for you guys where I can give you a better summary of what's going on there later. I don't really want to include a big discussion on that here because I have a feeling that it might turn into a discussion about something else if I start talking to you guys about this right now. But the point is that I just want to say that I'm also really disappointed that was not included in the English version, because personally, when I'm reading, as you can see, the book ends and that's it. I find it really interesting to learn more about what, the authors, their opinions on things, and more interviews. That's what I feel is sort of lacking in translation for us, as if you're reading as English readers. I mean, obviously it's really difficult. There's so many interviews. There's only so much we can do. But when it's something that's included in the actual book, it's not something separate that you have to look for. I'm really disappointed that they didn't do that. This could be somebody's first introduction into Korean literature, and if it is, Park Min-gyu I think is definitely one of the best places to start. It's definitely my opinion, but I really love his writing. It's super fun, and if you try reading it in Korean, also, his ideas can be very complex, but I think his speech is very easy to understand. So he's one of those writers that, their ideas are what's building up, and then becomes something that's more complex and really making you think. But the style is very simple, and it's accessible to a lot of people, I think. And so if this is somebody's first introduction, I mean, I think it would be great to have some type of information on Park Min-gyu and what he's saying, because maybe you'd be interested to read more of his other works, which you definitely should. That concludes my really long rant about the translation of Park Min-gyu's Pavane for a Dead Princess. Like I mentioned in my first video, I could keep talking about this book forever and ever and ever. There's always something new to talk about here. And, although I did have a lot of critiques about the translation of the book, I really recommend you guys to just try it, read it. Overall, the story is there, you guys, and I think the story is really good, and the ideas are definitely translated. They're there, so brings a lot of really good topics to discussion. But I think that the important thing here, maybe to take out of this, is Korean literature right now is not really widely known by so many people as much as, for example, Japanese literature, other world literatures. It's up and coming, though, and I think that one of the things we should pay attention to, especially when you have works like this, maybe contemporary or not, depending on the original text, is all the different aspects that go into translation. And it's not just about words. It's not just about finding how do I say this in whatever language I'm trying to translate into. It's also about, there are different messages that the books are giving us too. The book as a physical entity, the images that are on here, it's very different. It's a very different aspect and very important aspect. And I'm just kind of disappointed with the English version for being sort of like the way that it was. And I think that it's something that we could have done with. I don't see why they decided not to go with it. Maybe it was a little bit more expensive. I don't really know. But my wish is, more attention is paid to these sorts of things, because wouldn't you want to buy this book? I'd want to buy this book. If I saw this book, I'd want to buy it. It looks nice. Sometimes you do judge a book by its cover, and that maybe is the message he's trying to say. I don't know. It's your interpretation. My interpretation is sometimes it matters, right? What you decide to pick up. It's a very nice cover. The back, you can sort of tell it's shiny. It's like engraving, sort of looking like flower, vine. And the cover, I'll try to show you guys this. It's, I don't know if you guys can see, but it's sort of glittery. It's very pretty. And maybe the point is that it's a pretty cover, sort of an ugly story. The layers, right? This discussion. It matters. So, in the future, I really hope that there's more importance paid to this. Okay, I'm done. I'm done ranting, you guys. We're done. So I'll see you guys next time. And if you have any suggestions for something you'd like me to talk about, or if you guys have any questions, send me a message, comments below, and I will try to get to it. Yeah. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.